I love when it says, like, we left before the fights broke out. Like, that just sounds like a crazy experience. Maybe it would have been actually a little interesting. I would have kind of been there for the drama. Like, okay, at least let's get some entertainment out of this dinner and a show. Hey, welcome back to the channel. So recently I did a video about how to plan a wedding your guests will actually enjoy. But today I'm gonna kind of flip this and show you how you can plan a wedding that your guests will hate. With some crazy wedding horror stories, some guests shared some of the worst weddings they've ever attended, and I want to share these with you just to give you some advice about what not to do. So sit back, enjoy some of these spicy wedding stories. The wedding started an hour late because at the last minute, the couple decided to wait until the sun was down. The reception was at the bar where the groom worked. It was a cash bar and didn't have assigned seating, so a big group of us were left without a table and had to stand at the standing half table where an in memory of display had been set up. We snuck out the door before any speeches or dancing and got burgers down the street. I think the burgers were a great call, and it was probably better than the wedding food you were gonna get there anyway. This is so embarrassing to, like, you don't have a table, and so you have to, like, stand with the, like, in memory of, like, that's so awkward, and it, like, almost feels like a little wrong. But, like, if you don't have another table, like, that's just, sounds like a very uncomfortable situation. I think that sometimes people want to do like a no assigned seating because they want their guests to feel like they have the freedom to decide where they sit. This is a bad idea. Please tell your guests what you want them to do. They don't want to have the freedom to do whatever they want because they don't know what is expected of them on the wedding day, and they don't want to have to figure this out. Just communicate to your guests. Make a seating chart. People always leave that, like, extra seat in between them. Like, for some reason, as humans, wherever we go, like, if there's a aisle or a row of chairs, we're gonna, like, put a few spaces in between ourselves and the people we don't know. So if you do no assigned seating, everybody's gonna have some little gap chairs. And so I really recommend don't do a no assigned seating thing. It's super awkward. Also, like, the couple decided to start their ceremony an hour later. Like, that is crazy. So please start your ceremony at the time that's on your invitation. The most I would ever push it back would be 15 minutes if there's a delay or if there's something going on. But it's really not fair for your guests for you to start your wedding an hour late because they've been sitting there waiting. They're probably getting hungry already. They probably, like, rushed to get there. Like, it's just very inconsiderate to start your wedding an hour late. And so I really recommend not doing that. Stick around for the last story because it's from a wedding that I experienced as a wedding photographer, and you are not gonna wanna miss it. Here is, like, a wedding that sounds more like a nightmare fever dream that you would never wanna experience. I was in a wedding as a groomsman for a childhood friend of mine this past summer. There were 10 groomsmen and 10 bridesmaids, and you could tell that everyone involved had no experience managing such a large group of people. Coupled with the fact that half of the bridal party had children with them that they had to wrangle and take care of, and the rehearsal/pre-wedding orders of business took forever. The church had no AC in the peak of summer heat, so everyone was sweltering. With how long it took for the bridal party to get ready, there was no time for anyone to stop at a gas station on the way to grab water or anything. And there wasn't any water at the church for guests in the form of a water fountain even. This is not good. After communion was given out, the groom went around to every single guest in attendance, all 180, and shook their hands/hugged them and talked to them for a few seconds. Everyone just had to watch him do that for like 20 minutes. That is so awkward. I can't even, like, imagine sitting there and, like, watching this happen as, like, the groom is going around, like, and what is the bride doing? Like, she just standing there, like, like, watching this go down? Like, why did nobody tell him, like, get up there and get married? Like, get back to the front. Like, we want you to get married now. Like, this is not social time. That is so crazy. And 180 guests. Oh my goodness. After the wedding was over, we had to run over to the reception venue to help set up and get photos out on the golf course. The spot where we were going to do photos was on the other end of the event site. And with golf carts only seating 2 people and 3 golf carts given to our bridal party, it's too much math for me, but that's a lot, we had to drop people off one at a time by this bridge. Once all 27 of us, there were 24 in the wedding, plus 2 ring bearers and the flower girl, not to mention everyone's kids. Oh my gosh. The photographer informed us that the sunlight was too bright for that location, and we had to get back to the reception hall to get the photos there. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. Keep in mind, those who had gotten to the original photo spot had been standing in the direct sunlight with no shade available in a full 3-piece suits for the last 40 minutes, with again, no water being made available to us throughout the day. This is a wedding nightmare. This definitely constitutes as a horror story. They made so many mistakes in their planning, I can't even begin to tell you. So first of all, I liked how the groomsmen recognized that probably a lot of the vendors didn't have experience with such a large group. And if you're gonna have a bridal party of 10 people on each side and their kids with them, you need to make sure that your vendors are experienced with handling a big group. Like, that is a huge undertaking, especially as a photographer. If you don't have experience with photographing more than 20 people at a time in these bridal parties, like, it's gonna be a nightmare. It sounds like the photographer wasn't very experienced. That is so embarrassing that everyone was transporting back and forth just to have to change their location. I can't even imagine. When you do photos with groups of people more than 10, just do them right where those people are. You can find a good background anywhere you go. Just keep it simple, but do not try to transport groups of people. I don't know why also that the whole bridal party seemed to have their kids around. I think if you're gonna have that many bridal party members, you probably need to have a kid-free wedding, or make sure that they all have somebody to help attend to their kids while they're taking photos, because it's already a nightmare getting 20 adults together for a photo. If you have kids running around, I don't know how they ever got any photos done in the first place. This is a crazy wedding, and something that does get overlooked a lot on wedding days is having water for your guests and your bridal party. I see this happen way too often. So please make sure that somebody is thinking about water and people staying hydrated on the wedding day, including the bride and groom, because I've seen it happen more times than I'd want to admit. Another one of the worst weddings comes from a December wedding here. Brother's wedding in December in the Northwest. They had all the guests show up 2 hours before the ceremony with nowhere to wait, with no warning. What is this with people having their guests arrive like an hour or 2 before the ceremony? This is crazy. We did not have access to the church or reception building until the ceremony started. No seats, no protection from the elements, no bathrooms, no food or drink. People dressed in their absolute best wandered on the lawns in the cold for a while before getting back into their cars just to avoid freezing while the wedding party took photos. This is like a drive-in movie without the movie. Like, they're just like in the cold, sitting in their car watching the bridal party take photos. This is so awkward. I don't understand why there wasn't a plan for the guests if they were told to arrive 2 hours early. This is crazy. And I hate when people overlook the guests just to get good photos. Like, this is so not okay. As a wedding photographer, I do not commend this idea. Wedding photos are not as important as people freezing to death at your wedding, okay? So please don't do this. Eventually, an hour and a half later, someone from the wedding party had to go from car to car and tell people they could go into the heated church for the ceremony. Some left instead. I don't blame them. I think they probably expected to be there for less than an hour for the ceremony, and they've already been waiting for 2 hours. That's insane. The bride's side is from money, so a lot of her guests were angry beyond reason and spent their time looking for a manager and spreading hate and discontent. Groom's side hunkered down, stayed silent, polite, and supportive, and built the foundation of a grudge that will never go away. The ceremony and reception were beautiful, but everything was tainted by the feeling of being disregarded by the couple. Everyone was mad, but pretending to be happy and polite, considering how much money it obviously all cost. Then people got drunk. The energy got dangerous. We left before the fights broke out. The fights, plural. It was crazy to learn they spent enough money on the wedding to buy a house, but didn't even consider their guests enough to provide a warm space for them and their families to wait while they did their own thing. It made everyone feel like a pawn in their wedding game. That is crazy. Okay, like, I almost would feel a little more compassion if the couple was like, oh, we couldn't afford to like have a heated space for everybody, which like why have them arrive early? But the fact that they actually spent so much money on their wedding and still didn't have a plan for their guests, it makes it like completely unacceptable. Like there's no excuse for that. That's just a blatant ignorance or disregard for your guests and what they're doing. That sounds like people who are kind of blinded by showing off all the money that they spent on their wedding and making it all about the photos and impressing people than actually making it a good experience for the people that are there. So never let your photos or something that you're doing blind you to what people are actually experiencing at your wedding. This is like horrible. I am so glad some of the people left. I think that was probably a good choice. I love when it says like we left before the fights broke out. That just sounds like a crazy experience. Maybe it would have been actually a little interesting. I would have kind of been there for the drama. Like, okay, at least let's get some entertainment out of this dinner and a show. But yeah, no, this is crazy. This is definitely not a wedding that you want to emulate. So moral of the story too is spending more money on your wedding does not equal your guests enjoying your wedding more. They're not impressed. They just want to have a good time. So the last story is from a wedding that I actually was a part of. And so I was there photographing when I saw this and it was traumatizing. I mean, I wish to never relive this moment and I didn't even take photos of it because I was just like, no one needs to have a memory of this. Basically, the couple did the garter thing, which already, ew. Like, your guests do not want to see the groom sticking his head up the bride's like sweaty dress leg. Ugh, so gross already, right? But you know, everybody was a good sport and they did the garter. But then they did the bouquet toss. And so they had all the single ladies come up and there wasn't a lot of people that came up. And so the bouquet ended up getting caught by this young girl. She didn't look a day over 18, to be honest, but she looked pretty young. So then they take that sweaty garter that had probably been on the bride's leg all day and they call up all the single men. And now my theory is that there were more single men there than actually went up, but there was like 3 or 4 guys that actually came up for this garter toss. The groom chucks the garter behind his head and it is caught by this like 75, 80-year-old man, right? And they now announce that they are doing the garter thing with the person who caught the bouquet and the person who caught the garter. I just watched in horror. I was like, why is no one stopping this? The old man looked way too excited about this, and the young girl just looked very uncomfortable, but looked like she was trying to be like a good sport, so to speak. It was just awful. I was like standing there like, this isn't my place to intervene, but I refused to take any photos of it. It just was very uncomfortable, very weird. And I just think that garter tosses should be abolished. I think it's just completely unnecessary and weird. I don't know why, like, if I was the DJ, even if the couple told me to plan that or to do this, I probably would have just forgotten. I just don't know why no one involved was trying to not make this happen. It was very uncomfortable. I was looking around the room in horror, and most people also looked very uncomfortable. So when you're planning stuff for your wedding, I really think you should keep in mind the different possibilities. Like maybe the bride and groom thought like, oh, it could end up being like a little meet cute for 2 of their guests or whatever. It was not the case. It was very awful to watch, and I'm glad that there's no photos of it at least. But yeah, I definitely think that you should keep in mind all the possibilities and also be willing to speak up on your wedding day if something's happening that you don't want. It's your wedding, and so communicate with your vendors. Communicate what you want, because it's the wedding day is about you, so you can make sure that you have the things that you want to see happen, and if there's something happening that you're not okay with, speak up. It's your right to do so. Let me know if you've ever witnessed something crazy at a wedding. What is the worst wedding that you've ever attended? I want to know in the comments. And remember, as you plan, you don't have to make it about all of the expensive things. You want to make it about enjoying the day. So don't put pressure on yourself, but make sure you don't forget those things that could make your guests really make or break their wedding experience, their experience at your wedding. If you enjoyed this video, check out the video about how to plan a wedding your guests will actually enjoy here. And make sure to like and subscribe so that we can help a lot more brides plan their special day.